Hello, children, and welcome to the social science session. So, in today's video, we will be discussing the history chapter India during the ages. So, in this chapter, we will be talking about the Gupta dynasty and we will be also talking about the great king of India, that is Harshwardhan. So, let's begin. So, the powerful empires established by the Kushans, which the Kushan rulers who ruled in the south, and the Satvahanas who ruled in the Deccan, came to an end by the end of the 3rd century CE. That is, by the end of 3rd century, these empires became weak. That is, the Kushans and the Satvahanas, they became weak. And after their decline, there emerged a new empire which established its hold over a good part of both the Kushan and the Satvahana areas. And which dynasty, which empire was it? Yes, this was the Gupta dynasty. So the Guptas, they belonged to a family of wealthy landowners, which gradually gained political control in the eastern part of Uttar Pradesh. So this family emerged as new rulers of the area during the 4th century CE. As per the archaeological and the literary sources, we get a lot of information about the Gupta period, and they show that this Gupta period was a grand period, right? The Gupta Empire was a very powerful empire. The Allahabad pillar inscription is the most important archaeological source. So, coins, temples, and paintings are some of the other valuable archaeological sources which give us a complete account of the Gupta period. Accounts of Fazin and the works of Kalidas are the main literary sources of this period. So let us now talk about Chandragupta I, who was the founder of the Gupta Empire. So he ruled from 320 to 335 CE. So Chandragupta I, he founded the Gupta Empire, and of course he was the first ruler of Gupta dynasty. So Chandragupta I has been described as Maharaja Dhiraj, which means King of Kings. He married the princess of Lichvi tribe, and the name of, this princess was Kumara Devi. His empire extended from Magad to Prayag, which is present day Allahabad or Prayagraj. He was the first powerful ruler of of this dynasty, that is the Gupta dynasty. His descendant, that is his son, became the second ruler, that is Samudragupta. So Samudragupta became the ruler in the year 335 CE, and he ruled over this Gupta dynasty till 375 CE. The Allahabad inscription, which is engraved on a pillar at Allahabad, is the main source of information about the reign of Samudragupta. So, this pillar, which is there at Allahabad, this is called Prayag Prashasti, and it gives a complete information, a detailed information about the reigns, the region conquered by Samudragupta and his policies towards them. So the Prayag Prashasti was composed by Harisena. The inscriptions on Prayag Prashasti mentions that Samudragupta defeated 9 rulers in Aryavarta, and he conquered these kingdoms, and he uprooted them and made a part of of course made a part of his own empire. Prayag Prashasti also mentions that there were 12 rulers in the far south or Dakshinapath. After being defeated, these rulers they surrendered to Samudragupta, but he was a very kind and generous ruler, and he allowed them to rule again in their own kingdoms. The kings of many kingdoms in the east, including places like Nepal, Assam, coastal Bengal, and a number of Gansangs in northwest, also followed the orders of Samudragupta, and they also attended his court. The foreign kings paid homage and offered alliance to Samudragupta. They also offered their daughters in marriage. The descendants of Shakas, Kushans, and the ruler of Sri Lanka also submitted to him. So all these information in through Prayag Prashasti give us a detailed, information, detail. Everything in detail about the life and time during the reign of King Samudragupta. Next, in the Gupta dynasty came the great ruler Chandragupta II, who was the son of Samudragupta, and his name was Vikramaditya. He was also known as Chandragupta Vikramaditya. So it was during his age, during his time, that the Gupta dynasty reached its peak. This was the best phase of Gupta dynasty. He defeated the Shakas and maintained friendly relations with the powers of Deccan and the far south. It is believed that the court of Chandragupta was full of learned men, and the most famous was the poet of that time, that was Kalidas. A Chinese pilgrim Fazin who visited his kingdom has written again a complete detail in his account. So his written account highlights the life of people and the poets and the writers of that time. The later Gupta kings were Kumar Gupta and Skandagupta. They were also very powerful rulers, but the Hunas, which was a nomadic tribe of Central Asia, threatened the empire during the reign of Skandagupta, and finally they lost. The Gupta dynasty came to an end. The post Gupta period shows, the Pallavas and the Chalukya. So, in the north and south India, the new kingdoms emerge after the end of the Gupta period. So, in the north, the kingdom of Harshwardhan was the most powerful, and in south, it was the Pallavas. The Deccan was dominated, that is, the Deccan was ruled by the Chalukyas. So this was about the Gupta period. So we see the the most powerful three Gupta rulers were Chandragupta I. He was the founder of the Gupta dynasty. Samudragupta, who was very powerful and remained victorious all the time, and therefore he had been named as the Napoleon of India. And then came Vikramaditya, that is Chandragupta Vikramaditya. So these were the most powerful rulers of the Gupta dynasty. Next, we talk about Harshwardhan. So Harshwardhan was another very powerful king. We know about Harshwardhan through the literary works, and the first being his biography, which was named Harshcharita. His biography has been written by the court poet Bana Bhatt. So, this Harshcharita, it was written by Bana Bhatt in Sanskrit. So, in Harshcharita, when we talk about Harshcharita, we see that the book written in Sanskrit tells us about the genealogy of King Harsha, and it finally ends with his becoming a king. So Harshcharita is the first historical biography written in Sanskrit language. The other is the account of Zhang, who was a Chinese pilgrim who visited India during Harsha's reign, and he spent 8 long years in his court. So he left a detailed account of whatever he saw during this time about the king, about the kingdom, about the people, their way of living, everything. So we get again a complete detail about this time through his written account. In addition to this, we get information from other sources like coins and inscriptions. Next, we talk about the military campaigns of Harshwardhan. So, King Harshwardhan became the king. He ascended the throne at the age of 16. So, just at a tender age of 16, he became the king. So much of responsibility at such a young age. The capital of his empire was Kannauj. So during his rule, Harsha established a strong empire which extended from Punjab, Kashmir, and Nepal in the north to the Narmada River in the south. But he tried to cross the Narmada River and march towards Deccan, but unfortunately, Chalukya king Pulakshin II proved to be more powerful than him, and Harshwardhan was defeated during this attempt. Apart from this, when we talk about King Harshwardhan, he conquered many territories, but he did not annex them. Most of these rulers accepted the superiority of King Harshwardhan and offered him tribute. So he was a tolerant king. He was a worshipper of Lord Shiva, and later he became a Buddhist. He was also a lover, a patron of art and learning. Next, we see some of the details mentioned in the Zhang's written account. So it says people during this time were simple and peace loving. The main occupation was agriculture in the villages. Traders and craftsmen lived in towns. Most of the people during this time were vegetarians. The society was divided into castes, and this caste system was very rigid. This division was very strong and rigid. And we also come to know that the untouchables were shunned and they lived outside the city premises. So, this was all about the Gupta dynasty and King Harshwardhan. So, we talked about the most powerful three Gupta rulers, that is Chandragupta I, who was the founder of Gupta dynasty, Samudragupta, who was the next ruler, that is the son of Chandragupta I and also known as the Napoleon of India. Then we talked about Chandragupta Vikramaditya, that is the third king of Gupta dynasty, and during his time, this was the best phase of Gupta dynasty. Then, after that, we talked about the other two Gupta kings, Kumar Gupta and Skand Gupta, and after that, we talked about Harshwardhan, King Harshwardhan. So, with this, we come to an end to this chapter. So, thank you so much.